Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much. Enjoy the video.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back into the Sea Show. Guess what? Chris here, and I got a special guest with me here tonight, Annie, who says she's been dealing with aliens for quite some time. Annie, how are you? And thank you for coming on the show.
I'm doing all right.
Cool. So tell me about your alien experiences.
Well, it started when I was young. I wasn't really aware of it as much as just when I was little. I used to have weird things like the room lighting up with blue. I remember straight fear. I remember something being at the door of my bedroom and it just freaking me out to the point where I couldn't scream. But I wasn't allowed to remember what it was. And it wasn't until I was 12 years old that I actually started having experiences and actually remembered the experiences. And as I started getting older, I had a lot of weird things that I kind of just always wrote off until I started to become more aware of what exactly was going on. So when I was 12, I do remember. So
I'm sorry. So how old was you when you think it first happened? You said you really wasn't aware.
Well, I've had hypnosis, regressive hypnosis to find out more about it. But I do remember the incidences a little bit when I was about 6 years old. But the weirdest thing is I have a memory that I can't get rid of. It's a memory that when I was little, and I don't even know how the heck I remember it. And that was actually being in the crib. And I've seen ghosts my whole life too. So I was seeing ghosts that were people, and I also seen creatures that were behind it. And to me, when I was little, I used to, when I finally started talking, I would tell my mom that they were nice monsters.
So the ghost and the monsters appeared at the same time?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And it was just when I was little, but the ghosts were. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
I was just going to say the ghosts were more prevalent when I was a child. I used to scream because I didn't understand why there were people in my room. And I didn't understand that I had this and it was a gift or an ability. I just thought there was something wrong with me because nobody else could see them, but I would. And I would make my mom turn the light on for me, and I would be more comfortable sleeping with the light because with the light I wouldn't see him so easily. And so I kind of got used to that. But it wasn't until I was 10 years old that I found out that my grandmother was the same way. My grandmother could see spirits. So I don't know if it just kind of ran in my bloodline or what. So
did the ghost and the aliens interact with each other when they were together?
When I saw them together, they weren't interacting. They were just watching me. So I have no idea what that's about. That's just like my earliest memory, and I don't have a clue. So I don't know.
So you said the monsters were nice, but the ghosts weren't? They were mean? Or?
No, the ghosts were all right too when I was little, but when I was probably, I don't even remember how old I was. I was a little kid, and I would sleep in my bed, and I would have this man always standing by my bed. But at the time I didn't think what he was. It was my mind. It was, he's not supposed to be there because nobody else can see him. And I used to put my blanket over my head and make a little hole so I can breathe out of it because I was afraid to see him. And, nobody believed me that they're there, but he would stand. He was almost like a bodyguard. The only way I can think about it, is he used to wear a suit, and he would stand by my bed, and he would always face away from me and kind of cusp his hands in front. But I knew that every time he was there, there was dark shadow people. And when he was there, the shadow people wouldn't even try to even come near me. If they ever showed up, they would just leave immediately. So the only thing I can think of is he's more of a guardian. He didn't really scare me other than the fact I thought there was something wrong with me because he shouldn't be there. So,
Is he still with you now?
I don't know. I've had a lot of weird experiences as I've gotten older, even as an adulthood. I'm not young anymore, but I'm not very old either. But it's just, I believe in this, that there's spirits all the time. And so I feel that there's like guides. And so I don't know how else to put it. And I have guides that kind of help direct me on what I need to do. And I've been able to help a lot of people because of it. And it's not like you're hearing the voice in your ears or anything else. It's more of a prompting that you're supposed to go do this, but it's not coming from you. That's the only way to explain it.
Has there been any that have been with you since the beginning and still with you now?
Has there been any? I'm sorry, what was that?
Have you ever been like, a ghost or an alien that you remember that's when you was young that stayed with you the whole time that you just still, comes now?
Yes. My experience when I was 12 years old, I was taken by two grays, and they took me to a ship, and the ship was this experience that I totally remember, and I told my mom about it. Oh no, that couldn't happen, because we won't get into that. But anyways, there was a lady, there was a female, alien. She was very tall. She was white, like pearlescent white. Um, she had a high collar on her neck. Her neck was longer than like human, a high collar on her neck. And she wore all white, and it was a dress. It was like a gown, and it went all the way to her wrist and then all the way down to the floor that she wore it. And I thought she was beautiful. When I saw her at 12 years old, it was just like, wow, she's just beautiful. And she has been the one that has been with me off and on throughout my life. The only way I can put it is maybe checking up on me. I don't really know. I don't have any bad memories of her. I don't have bad feelings. A lot of times in abduction, you don't remember all the little details of what happened, but you are allowed to remember the feelings that you felt when it did happen. That's why a lot of people are
Really?
terrified. Yeah, and a lot of people are terrified. They may remember some details, but they don't understand why it's terrifying them so much. That was a feeling that they had. When I was younger, I was always afraid. And as I've gotten older and I've dealt with it on a regular basis, I'm no longer afraid of them. So I don't know if that's just through conditioning. I don't have that fear anymore. And a lot of times I can generally, it's like this anxiety feeling that you get. It's almost a feeling you know they're coming. You don't know when, you don't know how, but you feel them, that they're going to be coming. I've dealt with a lot of different types, so it's not just one type that I've dealt with.
So are some good, some bad, some in between?
I've only had one experience that I would have to say I didn't like, that I was very, very uncomfortable with. But honestly, my own personal belief, I believe they had to be connected somehow to government, because where they took me, I felt like I was underground. And as they're wheeling me down, I was on a cart, and as they're wheeling me down this hallway, I saw electrical conduit on the outside of the wall, and that is not how any of the ships ever were. They're very smooth, everything's hidden, you don't see anything like that, so that didn't feel right to me. And I kind of had PTSD after that little incident with them, but that was only one time. Otherwise, I haven't had bad experiences.
So did you enjoy the other experiences?
I don't know if I really enjoyed it, but it was more of, a lot of times they would teach me. I got to learn about history.
They taught you about history?
Yeah. When I was 12 years old.
History?
Okay. So let me explain what happened. When I was 12 years old and I was taken onto the ship, when I came to, I was standing next to one of the examination tables, and this room was beautiful. It was like everything was slick and clean. It was just, there was no corners in it. It was more of like an oval shape. And anyways, there was two grays that were standing there, and I remember telling them, I'm just like, no, I said, you can't touch me. Don't touch me. And they were telepathically just saying, you need to lay down on the table. You need to lay down on the table. And I kept telling them, no, no, no. And they had instruments in their hand. I can't really explain what the instruments look like. All I know is that one of them was holding something, and I didn't know what it was, but it was like my body remembered. And all of a sudden I could feel the pain up in my nose area, like up towards the brain area. And I freaked out, and I said, no, no, because I knew that that's what he was going to use it for. And anyways, I finally, believe it or not, I raised my hand up and I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, you're not allowed to touch me. And as soon as I said that, they actually stopped. They both looked at each other, and one of them went out of, it was like a pocket door, and one of them went out the door. And when he came back with this lady, the lady that I was talking about, this beautiful lady that all white and wore all white, and she's very tall. And when she came back, she kind of looked at me, and they don't ever talk with their mouths. It's always telepathic. And she kind of seemed amused by it all, but she told me to come with her. And when I walked out of this pocket door, it was a glass window. I don't know what it is, but if you imagine a glass window, that's kind of how it was. And I can see the lights of some town down below. It felt like I was in the mountains somewhere, but I'm not sure exactly where I was at. And she walked me into the control room, and there was a whole bunch of different grays, and they were working different tables. They had lights. I don't know how to explain it other than that, and buttons that they were like pushing. And she says to me, she says, so what do you want to know? And I said, what do you mean? What do I want to know? And she goes, if there's anything you would like to learn, history or otherwise, what do you want to know? And at the time I was like 12 years old, and we're learning about, how supposedly the universe came together, the Big Bang Theory and everything. And I said, I want to know how the universe was made. So she goes over to it looked like just a regular plate glass window that was kind of concave, and she touched something on it. Next thing you know, I've got this like a holographic screen, but it almost felt like it was surrounding me. And I was watching how everything came together. And so it was all through science, how everything came together. And so I remember going through history. I don't remember the history of the earth, but I was learning about our actual history. And the only thing I was able to remember was at 12 years old, when I was returned, was everything we've been taught is a lie. But, who writes history? The one that wins the war, right? So,
That is very true. Just reminded me, some other day was an argument about that, and they said that's not true. That statement was not true. So is there any other particular part of history they taught you besides that?
No, not that. I've had a lot of, I don't want to talk too much about future stuff, but
Gotcha.
there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. And I was told that that's why I'm here.
The past and the future.
Yeah. It's a long story. If I got talking on the subjects of everything, I think I'd talk for 3 or 4 days. But there's just been a lot that I've been trying to deal with. You have it happen to you, and you just try to deal with it the best you can. As I said, I've had some regressions done, and I found out a lot more stuff that started making sense then. I was taken when my husband and I lived in Montana, and we had an experience where we were building a cabin and we were living in a tent. And in order to get out of the tent, I would actually had to climb over him. And he was a really light sleeper. A deer could like step on a twig and he would wake up, And one morning came to, and I was standing outside of the tent and didn't know how I got there. And I hear him screaming, trying to find me, because now he's freaked out because I'm not even in the tent with him. And anyways, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know," and he's like, "Well, come back in here." Because it was pretty cold in the morning, and I was basically out there barefoot and no coat on or nothing. And anyways, it wasn't until I had some regression done that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I was actually taken that night." So,
Wow.
and you, when you have the experience, it almost feels like a dream. It feels like you're stepping into a dream when you come back. And so when I had this experience, I actually had to call up my husband, and I'm like, "Did this actually happen?" Because it felt like a dream to me, even though it actually happened in Montana. And anyways, so
So let's go back to ghosts for a minute. So are they just around your bed while you wake up while you're sleeping, or are they in your dreams, or how does that happen?
I've seen ghosts as clear as I have a person. That kind of freaked me out. That was my father-in-law. And he was sitting on the couch. And when that happens, your mind kind of goes crazy, because it's like you're going, "Wait a minute, he's dead. He shouldn't be here. Why am I seeing him like this?" And there's like so many things going through your mind at the same time. I kind of got scared, and I kind of jumped sideways. I know that, like with ghosts and spirits, you have to be at a certain mental vibrational level to actually be able to see them a little bit easier. I've had people that have passed on come back and give me messages to give their spouse. And it, I've had so many different experiences. I actually have dealt with somebody who had committed suicide and helped work them to go to the other side. And they actually came back and said thank you afterwards, because
Wow.
they were just feeling so guilty about what they had done, and they can't take it back, that they were afraid to cross over to the other side. You know what I mean? Because it's like, gosh, I got to make this right, but they can't make it right. And so they have to go over to the other side to be able to forgive themselves for what's happened, for what they've done. Because I don't believe in, "Oh, you're going to hell." I don't believe that at all. I've had 2 near-death experiences, and so that's changed my life too, with the near-death experiences. So I don't fear death. And when people pass away, I generally see them. Not like every day or all the time, but I will see them from time to time. And that gives me solace in myself that, it doesn't end there. So my father passed away last year, and the day after he passed away, he came and talked to me, and I literally saw him leave the room. So I look at death totally different than most people. You know, I have no fear of that.
Really? Do you think it's because you already know what's on the other side, or
I I know what's on the other side. And a lot of the spirits, the ones you're talking about, a lot of them are kind of trapped here. I call it the in between. It's not so much that they're not crossing over, so they're still staying in our area around us. And it's a lot of times because they haven't resolved the things that happen here, and so they don't want to cross over. It's almost like they think that they can fix things. Sometimes they're haunted by their own past of the things that have happened, you know. So I don't know, and then sometimes they come back just to give you messages. So, or
what
some
kind of messages?
maybe you're going through a really hard time, and you're having your father or your mother going, "Hey, you know what? It's going to be all right." And they'll keep pushing and pushing. Maybe somehow you'll feel it a little bit. It's the people that don't see it. There's a lot more going on than most people see with their eyes. A lot more.
Really?
Oh
So,
yeah.
is are they coming back from a paradise, or are they coming back from a damnation, or where were they coming from?
I don't believe, I do not believe in hell, and I don't believe in damnation. I believe that when we pass away, the hardest judgment on ourselves is ourselves. So say you came here, I believe that you come here with a contract of things that you want to learn and things that you plan on doing. And say you weren't able to do everything that you put in there that you're supposed to be doing in your contract, you didn't get it all done, or you didn't do the things you were supposed to do, or help the person that you promised that you were going to be there for. I believe that that's what kind of we kick our own self in the butt for it, because I believe that we have contracts that we have to fulfill being here. And I do believe in past lives. So if you want to go there, I do believe that this is not our only life. I believe that we had many lives.
How many lives do you think people live?
I believe, well, on Earth, I think you have your contract, you keep screwing it up. I think you kind of have to keep coming back here. So there's the reincarnation of here, but I believe in spirit form, we're neither human or alien.
All right, say that one more time.
In spirit form, in our energy, in our true energy form, we are neither human nor alien.
So you think if we keep screwing up, we stay here on Earth?
I think if you keep screwing up with your contract, you got to come back and fulfill it.
Okay.
Maybe in another lifetime. So
who's the contract with?
Your contract is your soul contract. So if you want to call it a contract with God, this is the stuff that you came to learn, that you came to experience. You can call it with God. You can call it with Source, whatever name you want to put on it.
Huh.
You have a contract. Okay. I believe that this is a place that we come to learn. That's what we do. We come here to learn, but at the same time, we also come to experience. When I had my near-death experiences, I came back with the understanding that in this lifetime, the most important thing to do is not hurt other people. I believe that you can pretty much do anything that you want as long as you are not hurting someone else. Because when you hurt someone else, it makes it to where it takes them off their life path, which takes them away from what they're working towards on their contract, and then you're responsible for that.
So you become responsible for that person's contract?
You're responsible for what you did to take them off their path. You're responsible for that.
So are you responsible for putting them back on it, or do you have to pay a price for causing that, or what happens in that situation?
I would believe that when you don't follow your contract and you're taking somebody off their contract, that it kind of pulls you to have to come back again to help set things straight. But there's always guides out there. Everybody's got guides. Everybody's got spirits around them. Not everybody sees them, but they're there. And so, yeah, you do get pulled off your off your path. You're working towards your contract, and the guides are always trying to help put you back on that path. But it's not right to hurt somebody else. So,
let's say that you fulfill your contract the first go around or second, third. Well, what happens then? You said that you get to leave the Earth. Where do you go?
I really believe you get to. I believe that you become something else.
What do you become?
I don't know. I think you can become an alien. I think maybe you could have been an alien before you came here.
So, let me make sure I'm following. So you could be an alien and then come here to fulfill a contract and then get it fulfilled and then go back and be an alien again? Or are you saying that? Huh?
I believe you could be alien. I could believe you can be human. You could decide to come back and do the human thing again. You can do the alien thing. I had an experience when I went for hypnosis, and I had experience, and I experienced before I actually even came to Earth. And I was not in human form. I was in an alien form. I don't even know what to explain it, but I was asked to come here. I didn't, a lot of people say volunteer to come here. I didn't volunteer. I was asked to come here. I wasn't very excited about it, but I did.
Who asked you to come?
All I can tell you is what I experienced, and I was at a different place. It felt like a different dimension.
Yeah.
I was nothing more than an energy form. It was with a head, hands, legs, feet, if you want to call it that, but I was just pure white energy. And I wore a robe that would block the light from coming through where you wouldn't be able to see me at all. It'd be so bright, but it was all you can see is the light from the head and the hands and the feet, but you couldn't see any form. And
Okay.
I had two other forms that looked just like that come to me and asked me to come to Earth. And I remember that they were like, yeah, we need you to do this, this, and this. It almost felt like, those movies, the Christmas movies that they have the kids rolling out the big old long list of everything that they want for Christmas. It was
Mhm.
like, this is what we want you to do. And I just remember, I obviously am not allowed to remember everything that I was supposed to do here, or it would be too easy, wouldn't it? But
Yeah.
anyways, I just remember thinking, what are you? And I asked him, are you sure I'm going to be able to do everything that you want me to do? And they're like, yes, you'll always be protected. You'll always have guides with you. Anytime you need help, all you need to do is ask. And I was like, okay, I felt like a burden kind of placed on my shoulders, but that's what I looked like before I came here.
So, let me ask you about this now. Were so you said talking about aliens and humans and then ghosts. So, what is going on when somebody's a ghost and they're not alien or human? So, do you have to be a ghost for a while? I mean, when do you get sent? How long do you have to be a ghost before you get sent back to fulfill your contract?
If you're a ghost and you're just hanging around and not doing anything, then you haven't crossed over. And if you don't cross over, you're not going to do anything. You're just kind of hanging out. Otherwise, you do have ghosts that come back and help, but that's their job. That's what they're doing. They're not going into a physical form. They're just helping out until it's time for them to go somewhere else, do something else. We all have things that we're doing. And the whole thing is, a lot of people believe, and I'm not knocking down Christianity or anything like that. I do believe in Christ. But I think a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to go to heaven. I'm going to stay there. Can you imagine an eternity where you think this is a long time? Can you imagine an eternity of doing nothing? Really? You know what I mean? We're always supposed to be growing. We're always supposed to be learning, and we're always supposed to be becoming more.
So, so when you cross over, do you get to come? You come, but you do get to come back, right?
You cross over and you go to heaven, and that's when everything kind of gets sorted out. For people
Okay.
that have had a really
Okay.
hard life, they work through stuff. But
So,
that's I don't decide. That's when Source decides that you need to come back. So
okay. So, but once you cross over, you don't come back, right? You've made it to heaven, and there you stay.
no, you go back to heaven. That don't mean you don't come back. That doesn't mean
Okay.
anything.
So,
You go to heaven, you get straightened out, you kind of get through this life before you can try to start into another one.
well, how long do you get to stay in heaven?
You're talking human, aren't you? There is no such thing as time. There is no such thing as time. So you can't say, oh, it's a certain amount of time. I had my father-in-law come back and explain to me about time. So I'm going to explain it to you the way he did it to me. And he said, okay, I'm going to explain to you about time. And I'm just like, okay. And he gives me some big old long mathematical equation. And I told him, I said, explain it to me in stupid human, because I don't understand what the heck you just told me. And he goes, okay, imagine there's a huge tornado or hurricane, and it's just going around in circles, and it's like a tornado, but it's just huge. Now you're in the eye of the storm or the eye of the tornado, and you're standing there and you're looking up, and it is clear blue sky. It's beautiful. You don't see a tornado around you because it's so big you can't see it. You're just in the pretty blue sky. He says, now imagine that this tornado that's going around you is time. Everything is happening all at the same time. And from their vantage point, they're in the eye of the tornado looking up.
Wow. So tell me about I want to go back to this right here again. About the ghost. Does the ghost, if they're standing around doing nothing, do they stand around doing nothing forever, or they get to, tell me about that again? Or
Well,
go into more into
you
it.
got you got wanderers. I've seen wanderers, and they do come from time to time. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people that do see spirits on a regular basis, I don't know what it is, if they shine their energy, because science has already proven we're not solid mass, we are just energy, we're just different densities of energy. That's why you don't go through it, and we think we're solid. But if you imagine that people that see spirits, their energy shines differently and it attracts other spirits. So I've gone to where when I have to go like to a cemetery or something, I pretty much have to kind of put like a block around me, because if not, I'll get spirits that go, ooh, let's go to her, type of thing. And I have to go, I don't help everything or everyone that comes to me. I don't. A lot of them don't want help. They're just trying to figure out what the heck is going on, because they never went to cross over, and they're still connected to something in this lifetime. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but the spirits, they do hang out only because they're not crossing over. If they did cross over, they wouldn't just come right back unless they had something they had to do here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
They're connected and they're tied to something here.
Does it always have to be something negative, though? Could it be something good that's tying them here?
Well, you kind of have to look at, I wouldn't say it has to be negative, but it has to be something that connects them to where they don't want to leave. If it was something good, I couldn't see that it's not, I couldn't put a word on it and couldn't say it was bad. And I can't say it's negative, but they're connected to something they can't let go of. It could be an incident. It could be some people are tied to their wealth and they don't want to leave it, and they're holding on to their things. You've heard of haunted things, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways that they can be connected and don't want to leave what they had here.
Okay, I see. So let's go on jump back to the aliens for a minute. So, are there like aliens and like all the different solar systems, or where are the aliens coming from?
Well, solar systems, galaxies, they're kind of never ending. They're just, the more we explore and the further we go, it's just constantly growing. So I really believe they're from all over the place.
But they're not in human form?
I believe that there's probably some out there that look just like us.
But the ones you've seen all look like monsters.
No, I called them the the nice monsters when I was little, but they're aliens. They're just different looking. I just didn't have a word. I didn't have a word for aliens when I was a kid. So it was nice monsters, because that's what you learn when you're a kid, monsters. You don't learn aliens. That was just my word for it. Obviously, I don't think they're monsters now, but
Okay. So do they get sent to a particular solar system, or do they get to choose, or how do they figure that out?
Well, you look at you in your human form, you're here on Earth, you're kind of born into it. It's not so much that they're sent to it or anything else like that. I guess that's how they progressed and they were there, just like us. But I want to tell you, with like the aliens, I honestly believe that a lot of them have a really difficult time understanding us. And the reason I say that is because the different ones that I've dealt with, their emotional range is so different than how we are. I've dealt with a tall gray that to me kind of has more of a higher cheekbones,
Uh-huh.
and they're very scientific, but they actually have a sense of humor. Maybe not as deep as the sense of humor we have here, but they kind of can think that they're a little bit funny. Then I've dealt with another taller gray that is more of, he looks kind of scary looking because his face is really wrinkled, and he's like pure scientific. It's not, he doesn't show any personality, a sense of humor. It's just, I'm here to do something and this is what I'm doing. And so they're all different in the fact that they don't understand our wide range of emotions. I really believe as a human, we have from the lowest low of fear and sadness to the highest high of being elated and everything in between, that they have a really difficult time understanding us. It would be like trying to explain to a blind person what color is, you know.
Okay.
So
So
as
can
I
you
said,
be
I think,
born an alien first and then become a human?
what was that?
Can you be born an alien first and then become a human?
I don't see why you couldn't. You can be born a human and become an alien, you know, as I'm telling you. And in energy form from source, we're not human or alien. We're neither one.
So is there did they told you what heaven's like? What heaven is like, or have you ever got to, you know, they brought
Well,
something back for you or gave you messages, or tell me about that.
um, for me, my first time, my near death experience, long story to go into, but,
Okay. We'll have
but
some follow-up segments for it.
okay, well, as I said, it's a long story, but I can tell you the color was more vibrant than I've ever witnessed with human eyes. I was being pulled towards a light that was coming out of these. To me, I believe when you die, everybody kind of has their different experience. A lot of people see mountains, some people see ocean, other people see desert. I really believe you kind of go to the place that's the most calming to you, because that's what happened my first experience. And for me, it's the mountains. I love the mountains. And I was going towards this light, and the closer that I got to the light, the more love that I felt. And I was walking towards this light, and as I closer I got to it, it's almost like the light almost started connecting with me. It felt like I was becoming one with the light. I was feeling connected to everything and everyone. And then that's when I got pulled back.
Huh. Yeah, you know, when my father died several years back, I remember it was a very hard death for me. I remember I woke up one night, or I had a dream one night, and I woke up after that dream, and I mean, from a dead sleep, just wide awake. And I had this dream that he was talking to me, and just like me and you are here. And he
Uh-huh.
was telling me about where he was at and the place, and he said, you know, there's different levels reserved for different people, and was telling me who was there, and was telling me that they got sent to um, go get somebody few days before, but they got sent back because their time was not yet. And I mean, it was so vivid. And I was like telling him, like, you know, you're not alive, you're dead. And but he's like, and you know, he was arguing back with me, he was still alive, and um, I mean, it was like it was him.
Oh yeah. Don't, here's the thing, okay? When you go into hypnosis, you go into the theta state, okay? The theta state you go into naturally. And I'm actually a hypnotist now, but the theta state you naturally go into twice a day. You go in right before you go to sleep and right before you wake up. So it's like it's the state of being not quite awake and not quite asleep. So a lot of times you will get messages in your sleep in that REM state. A lot of times you'll have the weirdest dreams. And if you actually write your dreams down and like do some research online, you can actually find that a lot of the symbolism in your dreams actually mean a lot of different things. And you'll go, wow, that really applies to me in this lifetime. But when you're having a dream like that, that's so vivid, I really believe you need to take that message to heart, because that is one of the easier ways they can connect to you. And I had an experience. I'd like to share one with you.
Sure, absolutely.
My husband, he was an EMT, and when he went to class, sorry, my throat's getting a little dry here. When he went to class, his EMT partner was a female,
Mhm.
and they became really good friends. And anyway, she went on to go and do her EMT work, and she was in a freak accident. She had actually turned around to go get the ambulance because she was in her regular vehicle, and her truck flipped and she died very quickly. It was like she died so quick that she barely bled at all, maybe a quarter amount of blood. When she flipped the truck, I guess the truck top went in it, and it hit her in the head. And anyways, after she passed away, and it was like shortly after she passed away, my husband tells me, he goes, man, I had the weirdest dream. And I'm like, okay. He says, I dreamt that you were there with me, and I was sitting down, and right across the way was my EMT partner. She was sitting across from us, and she was upset. And he goes, and I can tell that she was screaming and she was really upset. But I couldn't hear her, what she was saying. It was like I can only see the motions that she's going through, and she was angry, and I kept telling her, just slow down, slow down. I can't read your lips. Slow down so I can understand what you're saying. And I'm like, huh. He goes, but it was really weird because you were sitting right there next to me. And so anyways, I'm like, yeah, that is kind of weird, you know? And so the next night I had a dream, and in the dream, my husband was sitting right next to me. That's why I told you there's no such thing as time. My husband was sitting right next to me, and here's his EMT partner, and she is just furious and she is upset. And I told her, calm down. I could hear what she was saying, and she was upset. She was telling me that she doesn't know what's going on. She thinks everybody's just in a mean practical joke with her, that she goes to the house and nobody is listening to her. They ignore her. You know, basically what had happened is she had died so quickly that she did not realize she was dead.
Really?
Yes. And so anyway, she's very, very upset, and she is just going on. And I'm just like, hey, I'm trying not to use her name. So anyways, I'm saying, hey, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. It's okay. And she's all, how is that okay? Everybody's ignoring me. And I'm like, listen to me. You've been in an accident. I said, you're dead. And she said, no, I'm not dead. I'm alive. And I said, yes, you're correct. You are alive, but you're in a different form of being alive. You are no longer with your body. And she was just like really angry. And after I got her calmed down, I'm like, what I need you to do is you need to go back to where you last were in that truck. You need to go back, and you need to see what happened to you.
Really?
And then, yes, okay. So I told her, I said, you need to go back and you need to see what happened to you. And so this is just kind of crazy. This was in dream form, right? And so,
Right.
Anyways, she says, okay. I said, if you need a message passed on to your husband, you're going to have to come back. You're going to have to make me dream it, wake me up, make me dream it, wake me up, make me dream it, wake me up, so that I can remember exactly what it is to be passed on. I've gotten better now. Now when they come back, I have a journal by my bed, and I'll just sit up and write what I need to write to remember what I need to do. But at the time, I was just learning how to do this. And so anyways, she's like, okay. Well, she left. Well, the next night, that's why I learned, don't tell them to do that. Because the next night, I dreamt the message she passed on to her husband, woke up. Dreamt the message you wanted passed to the husband, woke up. This went on until 3 o'clock in the morning. Finally, because I had to be up at 5. I went to bed probably about 10 o'clock. So it went on till like 3 o'clock in the morning. Finally, I'm like, okay, okay, I got the message. Please let me sleep. Because it did it again and again and again, because I told her to do that. And so, as I said, now I have a journal by my bed. If stuff happens, I just get up and write on it and be done with that. But that's what I'm telling you. Messages do come through in spirit form in dreams. So don't ever discredit that.
So can you tell the message?
The message was she was concerned with him, and it's always simple messages. She was concerned because he was very introverted, and he didn't start coming out of his shell until, because they had only been married a short period of time. He didn't start coming out of his shell until she was with him. And so what ended up happening was she was worried that he was going to close in his world like he did before and not experience the world.
Really?
And so she was telling him to please stay open to new experiences, and stay open to everything that you can do here to go on. Don't close yourself back off.
And how exactly did you deliver it?
How did I deliver the message?
Yeah.
I talked to her husband, and we were at her funeral. I talked to her husband and I said, I need to talk to you. I have a message for you. So I always tell people, look, I'm the messenger. If you want to listen and believe, you can believe. If not, hey, that's fine. But until I pass down this message, they won't leave me alone. And that's true. They don't leave me alone until I pass the message over once they've told me. So I said, look, I'm going to tell you this. I'll tell you exactly how it came about, but you can listen, you can believe it, take it or leave it. I don't care. I just have to deliver it.
How did he respond to it?
Well, when I explained to her, because I didn't know her very well, like my husband, as I said, he was a partner with her. And I started explaining about how angry she was and the way that she acted and the things that she told me. And he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's her. Yeah, that's her. Yeah, that's her. And when I explained about the message, she goes, I totally understand that. I understand why she would be concerned about that. So he was very good about it and thanked me for the message. But, it's kind of up to him on the decisions he makes with his life. So the last I heard, he was doing all right.
Have you ever had people get mad at you?
No, really? I haven't had them get mad at me, because I tell them this, look, I need to tell you this. And I'm not going to tell you, hey, you got to believe me. I'm just going to tell you this. You can believe me or you don't have to believe me. I don't care. But they won't leave me alone until I tell you it. But it's never anything negative. The messengers are never negative. They're only to try to help the person that was left behind, because they're concerned about
them. What is the... I don't know. How do I word this? I don't know if I'm emotional or saddest, or if you got a message like that you've delivered that really bothered you, or...
No, because in spirit form, the ones that I've dealt with, emotional. You want to hear emotional story? I'll tell you an emotional story that was really difficult. Is that what you're asking? The most emotional one that's come through? That was the guy who committed suicide. That was difficult. That was difficult because he hadn't passed on.
Right.
And what happened was his ex-fiance had talked to me about him. And I said, well, I can try to connect with him, because I've learned actually how to meditate and go into a meditative state to connect with, doesn't matter where you're at, alive or dead. I've been able to connect with people. I can't explain it other than that. But I said, well, let me see what I can do, because what was happening with her was she was having emotional breakdowns. She would get to where she couldn't even function at work, because it was like she could feel him there, and it was so strong. Because he felt so guilty about taking his own life,
right?
And so he was trying to make it better by hanging around with her, thought he was going to make it better, but it was making her feel all his emotions when he was around her. And so she was having total emotional breakdown. She was just not functioning. And so anyways, I said, well, let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can connect with him. And so that first night I went in and I totally meditated, and I was really, really tired that night. And so I meditated and I fell asleep in the meditative state, which was really weird. That doesn't happen very often. But anyways, next thing I know, I'm in that theta state. I'm not quite awake and I'm not quite asleep. And I see him standing at the foot of my bed. And he told me, he says, I need you to help me. He told me, I need you to help me.
Just
And
like
I was
that.
like, yeah, I need you to help me. And I was like, because I'd already tried to connect with him through meditation. So he knew I was trying to connect with him anyway. But he goes, I need you to help me. And I'm just like, that pulled me to where I woke up, and then he was gone, because I was already sitting up and I was kind of in that theta state. And so he was gone. And I was like, wow, that was just crazy. And so anyways, the next day I was talking to my husband and on the phone, and I'm just like, that was really crazy. He's telling me I need you to help me, but that was it. And next thing I know, I feel him walking down the hallway, and I actually feel the sofa, like somebody sat on the sofa next to me, the weight. Next thing I know he's there with me, which is, I didn't see him, but I can feel him right there next to me. Next thing I know, I am seeing the last moments of his life through his eyes. That was the freakiest thing that's ever happened. So
Wow.
I saw that he was on pain meds, and I saw that he was drunk. And you know how Pulp Fiction, the movie, is like really freaky? That's how my head felt. It was like really just kind of craziness that was going on. It was like he couldn't concentrate right. I saw that he had a gun in his hand. I saw that he was in the garage. And I saw that he was just not in his right mind. There was a lot of different things, I'm not going to go into it, that were going on in his life. And he just felt totally sad and lost. And he kept crying for his fiance to come out. She didn't want to come out because she was afraid, because she had a gun in his hand. And so I saw that he was holding the gun, but I saw that he didn't mean to shoot himself. He was so out of it and so much on the alcohol. And it was like your head is just dizzy. And basically his muscle twitched. You understand what I mean? It wasn't like he tried to. He just had a muscle twitch. And he shot himself. Then I saw the next thing I was seeing is him standing next to his body going, what the hell just happened? And then I felt, that was the hardest thing, is feeling what did I do? I can't take this back. It was just the most difficult feeling that I've ever felt in my life. And I was on the phone with my husband, and I started bawling like a 2-year-old. I was crying. I couldn't handle it, because I'm feeling all his emotions all at once as I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm like, I couldn't handle it. And so anyways, I had to actually make him leave my house, because I was an emotional wreck, kind of like what was happening with his fiance, how she would get. That's exactly what would happen to her. She would start bawling like a 2-year-old, because it was like all the emotions from him is being played out on her. And anyways, I had to make him leave. And as soon as I made him leave out of my house, I was fine. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine, but before I was just bawling. It was just incredible, feeling all those emotions all at once, But then I realized it wasn't that he did that on purpose,
God, he's sitting there looking at his body going, what can I do?
So I was able to help them cross over, and he didn't want to go. And I ended up having doing this. I was in deep meditation, and I actually called to have him come to me. And I actually had to have his family come over. It's really weird. When I get into really deep meditation, I see I see incredible things. You know what I mean? So got in a deep meditation, asked him to come, the family members to come over to help him cross over, and he did. And the fiance told me she felt when he left. She said, I knew that he had left because she could actually feel the difference. It was like she knew he was gone. And since then, she hasn't had those emotional breakdowns like she was doing before. So,
I mean, you can feel the spirit leave.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's, I actually watched him be taken over with his family. His family members came and he was crying, and they basically surrounded him and they walked him into the light. So kind of reminds me of a show of like rescue mediums or something like that. But anyways,
And you seen that?
I saw it. I saw it happen.
So,
That's what I'm telling you. It's just, if I can tell anybody and all your viewers, learn to meditate. Learn to meditate. There's so much that you get to learn through your perception and seeing. You can connect, and you can feel like you can feel the connection with everything and everyone here on this planet. So it's just amazing the things that you can do. Our brains and our abilities energetically, all of us can do this. It's not just me. Anybody can do this.
So anybody can do this. It's not. How do they? Well, all right. It started happening to you at a young age.
It did start happening at a young age, but all I'm saying is like being able to connect with those. Just because you don't see it, maybe like me, you can feel it. You need to learn how to feel. The only way I can explain it is like, say you walk into a room and there was this big argument that was going on, okay? But before that happened, before you walked into the room, you ever walk into a room and you can feel the contention there? Even though you don't know what happened there, that's energy. Everybody can feel energy. You just got to learn how to tune yourself into it. That is just the energy you're feeling.
Well,
you know.
So you said this happened at a young age. So how did you know to start, calling them or getting into touch with them?
That is a longer story, but
Okay.
I had an incident. As I told you, I became a hypnotist. I had and I became a hypnotist when I started looking into Dolores Cannon. I had an experience because I never believed in past lives before. That wasn't the belief that I was brought up with. And it wasn't until my youngest was not quite 2 years old, and I took him out of the bathtub and I was drying him off, and he tells me, and he talked very young. He's all, "You're my favorite mommy." And I'm like,
Huh.
"I'm your only mommy, silly." And he goes, "No." He was adamant that no, yeah, I was not his only mom. And I said, "Well, then how many moms?" You know how you play along with your kids. And I'm like, "How many moms have you had before me?" So he starts playing with his fingers and he holds up 3 fingers. And I go, 3 mommies? He goes, uh-huh. I said, all right, well, tell me about mommy number 1. And his eyes kind of roll back. He's like thinking, and he goes, I don't remember her. I don't remember her is what he said. I don't remember her. And I'm thinking, okay, this kid is just full of it. And then I go, well, tell me about mommy number 2. And he starts looking really, really sad. And he goes, she was mean to me. She used to beat me. And this is a kid that's not even 2 years old yet telling me this, using words that you just go, what the heck? Where's this coming from? She was mean to me. She used to beat me. And I was like, okay. I didn't want to get too deep into that one. And he goes, well, I said, well, tell me about mommy number 3. And by this time, his eyes are just kind of welling up. He's about ready to cry. And he goes, she didn't want me, so she killed me.
Oh, my God.
That kind of tweaks you out when you hear a story like that and you're going, what the heck? This is a kid that shouldn't even know this type of stuff. He's not old enough. And so I just kind of let it go. I didn't want, I can see the trauma that was already kind of playing out on his face, and I didn't want to ask more questions to to make it to where he remembers all the time. I'm like, hey, maybe he's just going to tell me this and it's just going to go away. And it was about 2 weeks later, I get him out of the bathtub and the same thing happens. And he starts telling me I'm his favorite mommy. And so I go through the same questions that I asked him before. And he gave me the same exact answers, the same expressions on his face. And a kid is not going to remember it 2 weeks later. So that makes you go, huh, maybe there's more to this that, maybe I don't know. I don't understand. And he had a lot of emotional issues young when he was a child. It was almost like he felt like he didn't deserve to be here. Basically like an abused child that didn't think very highly of himself. You know what I mean? And so I had to work through it with this kid, because I almost died at giving birth to him. And I had to explain to him how much I loved him and that I was, I'd do anything to have him here. I almost died giving birth to him because I wanted him here so bad. And it took years, probably till he was at least 8 years old, to keep working through this, telling him the same thing over and over again to make him feel secure, because at a very young age, he didn't feel like he was wanted. And it was almost like he brought the emotions with him, if that makes any sense. And that's why I started looking into Dolores Cannon. And with hypnosis, I know I got off subject, but there is a reason. I started looking at Dolores Cannon and learned about hypnosis and stuff. And so I got into doing it, and I do QHHT is what it's called. And I was hypnotizing a family member. And when I went in to hypnotize the family member, my grandmother, because when you're in that theta state, that's a state where you can connect to the spirit world. You really can. So you're in that theta state, right? And so anyways, my grandmother came forward and he goes, our grandma's here. That's what he told me. Our grandma's here. And she said that she has a gift for you. And this is a grandma that I found out could see spirits when I was 10 years old. She had already passed. And so she says, she has a gift for you. And I'm like, okay. And so anyways, what ended up happening is I just kind of let it go, because I believe everything happens in its own time. And so anyways, it wasn't until about 3 months later, I had another family member. We had a family gathering, and they wanted me to go ahead and do like a guided meditation for them and to help relax them, because they were really stressed out. And it was my female. And so I went ahead and did the guided meditation. I'm like, how are you doing? She's all, oh, I'm doing okay. So I go and sit down on the couch next to her, and she's all, hey, can I hold your hands? And I'm like, okay. And so, as I said, she had been dealing with so much stress that was going on with her. And she's holding my hands. She goes, your hands remind me so much of grandma's. She was very close to my grandma. And I'm like, okay. She's all, so she's holding my hand. All of a sudden, I felt this energy literally coming through her into me. And I'm sitting there and I'm just shaking my leg. And she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, it's okay. She's all, I can take my hands away. I'm like, no. Let's just play this out and see where this goes. Because I feel this energy just literally just coming through my body. Right. And so anyways, I held her hands until finally the energy subsided, but it's still inside of me. It's like I can handle the energy that was there, but all of a sudden I had this pain in my chest that I didn't know where the pain was coming from. And so I told her, she's like, are you okay? I'm like, let me meditate it and just kind of let it go. Let me just get into meditation, let it go. So I get into meditation and I hear my grandmother's voice. And because I'm asking, what do I need to do in meditation? How can I let this go? I want to get rid of the pain in my chest. I can handle the energy, but the pain in my chest hurts. And I hear my grandmother's voice, and she tells me I need to go ground myself. And grounding is as simple as walking out barefoot on the ground in the grass. That's how you ground yourself. That's why you're so comfortable when you walk on the beaches barefoot. You're grounding yourself. And so anyways, sorry, give me a drink here. Anyways, I go outside, and as I stand outside, I'm on the grass and I'm just shaking, right? Because there's all of a sudden all this energy is coming through me through the ground, and it's like coming out my head. I can't explain it other than I'm literally just shaking. I'm shaking so much, I figure if I open up my eyes, all you're going to see is the white of my eyes. It's just that intense. And I'm standing there. As I'm standing there, all of a sudden I see, and I have my eyes closed, I see this big bright light, bright like the sun, but the sun was behind me, so it couldn't have been the sun. And it's like this bright light, and all of a sudden I see these beautiful pastel colored orbs, and they come out and they just totally surround me. I feel like the only way I can explain it is it felt like I was surrounded by angels. It was just, I'm standing there shaking and shaking, and all this energy is coming through me. And then all of a sudden, slowly, slowly, the energy is going down, down, down. And as it does, I don't have this pain in my chest anymore. So after all that was done, I go back to my female relative, and I'm like, all right, what the heck just happened? And she says, well, when you put me into the guided meditation, Grandma came to me. She goes, Grandma came to me and told me that if I wanted all my stress and the pain in my chest to go away, because she was so stressed out, she had the pain in her chest. I didn't know this. Says my grandma said if I wanted all the pain in my chest to go away and all my stress, that I needed to hold your hands. She goes, I had no idea what was going to happen. And so when she did that, she goes, but the pain in my chest is gone and I feel light as a feather. And
Wow.
so,
Oh my God.
so I'm explaining how I got into the meditation part of learning how to do this. So what ended up happening after that is I'm like, wow, that was kind of crazy. And then I started noticing that like my kids would come to me and they'd go, my head, I got a headache. And when I would touch their head, it would feel like vibrations of energy, and I could feel it going up my arm. And my grandma it's really weird. My grandma talks to me. I guess you would call her a guide. And she would say, now when the energy comes through you, just like my grandma and I used to share a room when I was a little girl. And so my grandma used to open up a bottle of Dr. Pepper, and it would go, psh. She was like hooked on Dr. Pepper, go, psh. And she goes, just, okay. So she says, so when that energy starts coming through you, just like the Dr. Pepper, psh, let it go right out the top of you. Just let it go. Don't hold on to it. Let it go. Like the carbonation. And so I noticed that when my kids would come to me, I'd put my hand on their head and I would feel like this, almost like a slight electrical vibration coming up my arm. And I would just let it go out the top of me. And they go, wow, my headache is gone. So I started learning that energy, to me, when it's pain, it feels like trapped energy. That's the only way I can explain it. It feels like trapped energy to me. And so I contacted a friend who did Reiki. I don't know if you've heard of Reiki. They're like, they do energy work, and a lot of times they'll work with crystals. And I contacted her, and she lived across the United States. And anyways, I told her everything that had happened, and she goes, you know what? Let's do an experiment, because that really sounds like Reiki, what you're doing. And I'm like, okay. She said, and people that are really good in Reiki, the masters, they can meditate and take care of anybody across the United States or throughout the world. There's no limit of where you can go. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't know what I was doing. And she's all, so she says, what I want you to do is go in meditation. She goes, I have a big toe that has been killing me forever, and the doctors really can't do anything about it. And she's all, and it's really been hurting. She's all, what I want you to do is I want you to go in meditation. She goes, I want you to imagine my name. And at the same time, I want you to put your hands as if you're holding my foot. Let's see what you can do with that. And I'm like, all right, okay. Because I'd been meditating, but I'd never done anything like that. And so that night I go into meditation and I imagine that I'm holding her foot, and I feel like a little bit of like electrical vibration, like, somebody with a headache letting it go. And I didn't know how long to hold it or what I needed to do or anything else like that. And so I did that. And when I did that, I just did it for a short period of time. And the next morning she goes, well, it feels a lot better, but let me wait till the end of the day. And at the end of the day, she goes, well, it's still 50% better than it was before. You did something. And I go, really? Because she's like adamant that I did something because it was better than, it was before. And I'm like, you know what? I said, now that I know I can do that, let me try again tonight. And so now I'm like, okay, I could do something. Let's see what we can do. And this time it was totally different. So this time I go in, I'm saying her name, I'm holding her foot. All of a sudden, I could feel the weight of her foot in my hand. And the next thing I know, and I have my eyes closed, use your meditation, I can see the electrical grid of her foot. And I see that everything's green except for this small portion of her toe, which I see is red. And so I'm holding her foot and I'm concentrating on that red. And I saw the red dissipate just like it was like a gas. And it was just like gone. And I knew that her toe was not going to hurt her anymore. It was really weird. It was a different experience altogether. And so after that experience, the next morning she goes, holy moly. She goes, I can tiptoe on my toes. It doesn't hurt at all.
Oh,
you know?
my God.
So here's the thing. Trapped energy, pain, the whole thing is you can make it, anybody can make it go away, people that do Reiki, but your pain is there to tell you something. So you can go, oh, well, you know, I bumped my arm, it hurts, or, oh, I woke up and my arm hurts and I don't understand what's going on, or, oh, my back hurts. It is all messages of your spirit telling you in your body form of things that you're not doing, things that you need to do, things that you're carrying, burdens. You know, I've learned this through doing this because I've been able to help people, their pain just totally go away. And I'll just tell you a short little experience. I went to help a lady that had her shoulder and her shoulder was hurting really, really bad. And so I put my hands on her shoulder and I was basically letting the pain go away. And by the time we were done, oh my gosh, she's like, wow, I can move it again. I feel great. And then it was 2 hours later, her son walks into the house. She gets into an argument with her son, and boom, the pain comes back right into the shoulder. Now, shoulders generally represent the weight that you're carrying, the burden. You understand what I mean? And so, and it was on her right shoulder. I'm going to tell you, if it's up on your right side, it generally is the present. If it's on your left side, it's something you haven't dealt in the past. For her, it was her right shoulder, and sure enough, her right shoulder came back, and the pain, and everything else. So, you know, I've been able to help a lot of people, but you know, unless you take care of it deeper, the things you're not taking care of that's making all this stuff happen to you, you can't totally make it go away and stay away.
Amazing. Do you have any idea how many times you've been a human or alien or?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. I've always felt since I was little, I was more of an introvert. Yet I was placed in a situation. My mom had it like daycare for a lot of kids, so I had to be able to talk to other people. But otherwise, I think I'd probably pretty much be an introvert. I kind of had to learn how to be more extroverted, and I even took like acting classes in high school to be able to talk to more people because I felt very much to where I'd have a hard time discussing things with people.
Right.
You know what I mean? To try to come out of my shell that way, you know.
So, what do you know? Somebody who's never thought about ghosts or aliens, how do they receive when they hear stories like this? I mean, do you ever get negative responses?
I don't generally. I don't, and even people that don't totally believe me, a lot of times I'll go with them and I'll explain that I saw a person there at their place, and I'll explain what they look like. They're like, yeah, yeah, that's my relative, you know, and I never met him before. And I don't see spirits all the time. Don't think that I like walk around and see them constantly. You know what I mean? It's basically it's like it's just a mindset of being more relaxed, kind of like I believe that little children tend to see spirits more often than the adults. And I really, you know, kind of like a little kid that's in their crib and they're like laughing and you look and they're looking somewhere else and they're not looking at you, they're looking at something else. You know, there may very well be a spirit there. I really believe as we learn to focus more on this life and the things, you're always holding a toy for a kid. They learn to focus on what you're showing them. So it kind of takes the focus, and they slowly kind of start losing that over time. I've had a lot of ghost stories, and some of them not so good, but I've learned to kick out anything that doesn't feel comfortable to me. My youngest child is like me. He does see spirits also. We'll see them together.
You can make them leave?
Yeah, you can make them leave.
Huh.
You can make
How do
you
you
can
do
make
that?
spirits leave. From everybody has their own way of different, but it's all about belief. And for me, I will just tell them, you need to leave. You're not allowed here. You know what I mean? Because this is my space. This is my dimension. If you allow them to stay, that's going to be your own problem. And the fact that you're letting them stay, you're making your own problem. I had to teach my child very young, because as I said, he used to see spirits, and he still does. And he's 13 now. He's like me. And so I had to teach him, when you see something, listen to your gut, because your gut is what's going to tell you your response that it should be. Is it when you see him in your gut, does it say, ooh, I don't like that? Or is it like, okay, somebody's just watching me? You know what I mean? You kind of have to follow that. You have to follow and learn to listen to your gut to be able to know if it's something you should kick out, or if you're just uncomfortable altogether, just make it leave. You just make it leave. When I was younger, I learned, and that's what I was trying to do with the aliens. When I was younger, I used to say, in the name of Jesus Christ, leave. And so basically, when I was 12 years old with the alien, I said, name of Jesus Christ, don't touch me. It was basically the same thing. It's what I had learned how to do to make the spirits go away. And so I was trying to use that basically on them to make them stop. And it worked. So you have to follow your belief system. You have to follow your belief system, but you have to believe that you have the power to make them leave, or they're not going to leave. You can say till you're blue in the face, hey, get out of here. I don't want you here, acting scared or being scared, and they're not going to leave. You have to know that you have that power within you to make them leave.
So I want to jump to something else right quick. Why do you think the aliens come here and mess with people?
I believe they're trying to understand us. I believe also they're trying to help humanity get further along. We're at a very crucial time, especially now. And if you look back in history, yes, there's been aliens, heck, way back in even Jesus's time. You've seen those pictures, the paintings, and they have actually spaceships on them back in the 1413 and 1400s. So aliens have always been around, kind of watching over us, but I don't believe they've gotten into really deep interfering. Maybe the reptilians, but
otherwise, I got a question for you. If we go from human to alien, wouldn't aliens remember when they were human?
Yes, they would. And some people, this is my personal belief, I believe some have done some probably mean stuff in alien form to these other aliens, and sometimes maybe that's why they're being messed with. I don't know.
Okay.
So don't quote me on that one. Don't quote me on that one, okay? I'm just saying. I kind of wonder if maybe that's it. And it's like, oh, we know that spirit, and this one did this, this, and this. So we're gonna mess with them here. I don't know. That's just me. I'm just joking around. But I believe there is experimentation being done.
Do you remember? I'm sorry. Do you remember being an alien?
Yeah.
What was more fun, being an alien or human?
Probably human. But in alien form, you already know what you need to be doing. So in human form, you're kind of guessing, because you come to forgetfulness. You don't remember anything.
Right.
So, I don't believe in the alien forms you have that major forgetfulness like you do here.
Okay.
To me, I feel like, and don't, I'm not trying to be mean, but sometimes I feel like I've been dumbed down. You know what I mean? I think maybe I was smarter somewhere else. But,
well, I mean, they would be I mean, if, they're if they can travel from all over, they would be so far advanced, or they're that far advanced, or they're just that much smarter.
Well, if you think about how young humans are, if you look time wise, if we're gonna, even though there is no such thing as time, if you look time wise, humans haven't been around for that very long. So if you look at these other civilizations maybe being around 100 times longer than us, you can only imagine the advances that they would have. But
okay.
So if you look at it that way, but who knows how many times this planet was recycled with us humans? There's a question right there.
We'll have to save that one. So, but you don't believe there's, yeah, because I'm going to have you back on. I'm just going to hold it for there. This for several segments on this. So you don't believe there's a hell?
I believe we go through our own personal hell. There's a lot of people that go, "Oh, I died and I went to hell." I really believe that was your mindset, and I believe that if you believe it strong enough, yeah, I guess there is. I guess if you believe that strong enough, I guess there is, and maybe you go through that until you get to the point where you decide that there's not. Your thoughts create more reality than I really believe than anything else. The way you think about things, I believe that you can make things happen by the way you think about it. It's like that saying that says, I thought about it and thought about it negatively, so it was negative. Or I thought and thought about it positively, and it was positive. It's the way you perceive things is the way it's going to happen for you.
Yeah. How do I put this? There are things that that I'll have to play out in my mind sometimes.
Yes.
That I don't want to happen, or that
Okay. You do realize when you're playing it out that you don't want it to happen, you're actually bringing that energy to you.
Well,
how do
I? No, I didn't explain it right. I'm playing it out in my mind to keep it from happening.
I don't believe you can play it out to keep it to happen unless you're playing it out positively. If you're playing it out positively over and over and over again, you're going to get a positive feedback on it. But if you're playing it out and you're going, okay, well, if this happens, it's negative. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When you think on the negative side of it, you're kind of pulling that to you.
When we cut filming, let me explain it to you because I don't want to go too much here.
Okay, no worries.
And see if it makes sense. I don't, but I'll just see if it makes sense to you when I explain it then. So I guess talking about positive energy and negative energy. Do you always have positive or negative energy? Does it go back and forth, or how does that work?
Everybody's going to have positive and negative, but it depends upon what you're going to focus on, right? You're going to have your negative thoughts. They're going to come through. And it's always going to happen. Your mind works, and it's always thinking, and those negative stuff's going to come to you. But do you hold on to it and keep thinking about it, or do you let it go and put something positive in its place?
I'll answer that one quick too. So, you told me earlier you was planning on writing a book. Have you already got a name for it and got it out, or?
Well, I'm rewriting it. I've already written it. I'm just rewriting the beginning part because I didn't like it so much. But I actually have changed the name, and I really like it. The name I want to call it is My Experiences in the Matrix.
I like that title.
Yeah. So
when is it due out?
Well, I need to finish writing it, and I have a publisher that wants me to send it to her. And if it doesn't go through them, I've got 2 other publishers. So I just need to get it. But I'm trying to have it due out by spring or summer of next year. So.
I mean, we're gonna have to Yeah, so we're gonna have to promote that. I have to put that at the top of the show. So before, that's pretty much all I have. I've kept you on for. I didn't realize we've been going this long because it's been amazing talking to you. And I'd love to have you back on sometime if you're interested. Is there anything else you'd like to say for this one before we stop?
No, there's going to be, I just know that there's going to be a lot of changes coming. Everybody needs to try to stay positive. I know it's kind of hard when there's so many negative things happening around you, but, there's a lot of good things that are going to be coming. I'm not going to put a date on it, but there is a lot of good things, but we're going to have to go through a lot of hard things before the good comes out.
Okay. Well, can you answer me this?
Okay.
Is Trump going to be reelected in 2024?
Here's this. Was Trump actually already elected?
Or wait a second, or did he lose?
Well, it'd be interesting to find out, huh?
Yeah.
All I can tell you is I was told that all the truths will come out. Whatever the truths are, the truths will come out.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That you said that, because I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I was talking about the former president, and they were saying this and this and this and this, and I said, there's been 6 years of investigations now, and they've not tied anything to it. And so when's it going to come out, man? And he said, well, they got somebody in his organization. I said, yeah, but either he's the best at covering his tracks, or they don't have anything on him. But this has been this has been really fun. I've enjoyed this, and I'm gonna have to have you back on if you're interested in that, because I'd like to go break down some stories some more, stick to that, because we kind of bounced all over the place tonight.
Oh, we did bounce all over the place, but if you want stories, you got to just tell me on what side of it. As I told you, I've had so many different experiences that sometimes I think I'm insane.
When you started, because I thought it was going to stay with do aliens, and then when you put the alien and ghost there together in the same room, I was like, well, okay, all right, I can't. I've got to go.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have experiences, and it's not just alien, and especially the contactees, that they also have ghost experiences. I don't know if the energy of the people are different, but I've heard a lot of different people that have both. It's not just one. It's not one or the other.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, and I'm going to have you back on real soon. I can't wait for that.
All right, Chris. It was good talking to you.
Good talking to you.